Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're here to talk through a vital topic, recession-proof your business. I'm joined by Graham Potts. Graham is our Managing Director at Wessex Commercial. He's got a background in industry and has had his own businesses. And not only that, he's been through recession in the past himself. So he's a really good person to help business owners in the Southwest. We'll take questions. If you're joining us live on LinkedIn, pop your questions in the comments and we'll pick them up as we go along today. But Graham, tell us what we'll be covering in today's topic.
Thanks, Linda. Welcome, everybody. First of all, I'll be looking at problems caused like recession, and also the opposite, opportunities. Mm-hmm. Because generally, if you've got a negative, has usually got a positive, and a positive has a negative. Focus also on cash, because cash is king, and that is the thing that will cause your business, like I said, business to have major problems. If you've got cash, you're okay usually. And then how you can adapt your business as well. Thoughts on adapting your business to cope with the recession.
Okay, and give us a little bit of an insight into your own experience of recession, Graham.
Well, as probably the audience know, I'm a little bit long in the tooth, but the first recession I really got involved with was in the early 90s. That was like a real eye-opener to me, because we went from very profitable to suddenly the business I was in losing 350,000, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So I've been through that. And then a couple of years later, we actually made 150,000. So it can fluctuate, but it was just the shock of it. Then through the global financial crisis, obviously, the 2008-9, COVID, 2020, and now, and it's also, what are we in recession? You look at the world's not in recession, but is it going to be in recession? Is it not? Is it caused because of Brexit? Because, so that's causing problems with supply chain, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how have businesses responded when they've been in those difficult times?
A mixture. I mean, the obvious thing straight away is look at your costs, and the big businesses, we all know, massive redundancies. Doesn't matter where they are, just be careful with that. It's cut the right cut if there is problems with staff, or there is, you've got, you've got surplus capacity. Yes, you look at it, but just be very careful, because we're in a very tight labour market still. So look at tighten your belts. Look at where you get waste, where making sure that everything's as efficient as possible. So look at your staff, your processes, your vehicles, utilization of stock, utilization of plant. Just look at everything. Make sure that you're utilizing everything, all your resources, as much as you possibly can. Yeah. Also, then look at customer trends. Find ways to build your brand. Innovate and be more efficient.
Yeah. And in your experience, Graham, who has got through those recessions and who hasn't? What differentiates them?
Well, there's always going to be a business that's going to fail because of circumstances. Yeah. If your market totally dies overnight and no one else, and all your everybody else dies, unless you've got a lot of cash before it comes back, then there's a chance you're going to go into liquidation, administration, or whatever. But generally, I find that those that react and are aware of their numbers, that actually are on top of the business, that cut their costs or cut their cloth accordingly, are generally the ones that survive. They also look at different ways to keep the customers, maximize how much they can get from a customer. Yeah. The ones that don't survive are the ones that are saying, "What's nothing I can do?" Yeah. They sort of basically say, "Well, that's just life. It's going to happen. We just got to wait." It's the ostrich head in the sand sort of situation. Those are the ones that have a problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. And talking about problems, then what are the specific issues that people experience? And I know we're kind of speculating on whether we're in recession or not, but I think there's no argument we're in difficult economic times. So what are the problems that people are seeing and will continue to see?
Well, I think this recession, excuse me, every recession is different, but it's still similar. I mean, it's the old 80-20 rule. 80% is the same. The difference now is that actually you've still got massive inflation. All right, it will drop down this year, but that's only because as the price rises, sort of actually stable because it's year on year. You're comparing against last year, but you've also got a hell of a pressure on wages. You can see that with the public sector and all the strikes, and also at the moment you've got the pressure of still trying to find skilled labour, technical labour, etc. The problem's coming is that you can see it with certain industries where your customers are trying to keep their prices tight as well and keep their, the cost down. So they're trying to, if anything, they're trying to get your prices down. And also some, there's certainly resistance to price increases. All this with trying to get your prices up and your costs going up means your margins are squeezed.
Yeah.
And also you may not have so much as you used to have with recession because the volumes go down.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it's harder to borrow. You can all see with the interest rates going up. So whereas we had COVID where we had 2.5% and there was no guarantees up to a certain level, in a level of borrowing, it's now the base rate is going up, probably going up to about 4%, sort of soon. So borrowing costs are sort of like 5, 6, 7, 8%, whereas before they were half that. So and it's much harder to borrow. The banks and financial institutions are looking at that, and it's the old saying that they're lent to the really good customers, that good businesses that don't want it, but those that need it, they don't want to lend. So you have to find different ways to find how to, different ways of raising finance. There's also there's also personal issues. I've seen so many businesses that we always recommend if you're making profits, look at the structure of your how you extract your remuneration. And in smaller businesses, what happens, you extract with a minimum salary to get into the national insurance thresholds, and then you pay yourself dividends. The problem is that a lot of businesses don't realize, and they get the accounts and they don't realize that actually they think they're profitable when the dividends, but they forget about taking the dividends out. And what happens as profits go down, you might be taking dividends when actually you're not making profits. Now, that is if you've not got enough profits in the business carried forward, brought over today, that is illegal. And then when your account comes to the end of your accounts, the accountant will say, you can't have that, and they'll put it to your director's loan. And that means that when you go as a director's loan, if ever you do go into liquidation or whatever, people like the liquidator will look to you for that money back. But you'll say it's my salary. No, it wasn't. It's dividends. So you've got to be so careful. And if you are paying yourself a lot of dividends, just make sure you've got enough post-tax profits to be able to pay them. Yeah,
absolutely. And I guess the issue there is that people won't have they're running a limited company and won't necessarily expect that personal impact. So it's something people need to be really aware of.
It is, and I would also say, we advocate at least quarterly management accounts, if not monthly. Depends on the size of business. Then we can help advise if something's happening.
Yes.
If the margins are down, if you've got a problem. But where you don't do management accounts, you wait for your accountant, which sometimes can be 6, 9 months later, you may have had a problem a year before, and suddenly you could build up tens of thousands of dividends that shouldn't have been taken. And therefore it goes to director's loan, and that can create a massive problem. It also means that you could get taxed on what's called S455 tax. So not only that, you've got a double whammy. It's just make sure you're up to date with your accounts and you realize how you're extracting remuneration.
I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet, Graham, is that in this in these difficult times, we are also dealing with the fallout from Brexit and the economic the restrictions that places on businesses and the extra costs. And certainly we looked at some figures, and I could probably grab them and pop them on the screen, but we looked at some figures showing how the UK compares to other similar countries. Let me just pop that one up.
Exactly, Linda. I think if you look at that shows you that the UK economy is the one that's shrinking.
Yeah.
Now, that's good news. Actually, because the others are growing, that's good news for the future. And if you look at it, they're expecting us to grow back in 2024. But there's a lot of thought that actually a lot of this is caused by Brexit, with the fact that you can't get supply chain easily. And because of all the rules and how it's hard to get in and out of the country with certain products and that, what is happening is there's so many businesses in Europe that actually will sell to Europe first rather than UK, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Which probably brings us nicely onto our onto our next kind of topic, which is the opportunities that come with I guess changing times and difficult times.
It is. It's just being aware. So, well, the first thing, like you may have a competitor that's in trouble.
Yeah.
In which case they may have to cut right down, and that may leave you, and they may not be looking after their own customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and customers will be changing how they see things. So you've got to be talking to your customers to understand what they want. And sort of also looking at if you've got any other ways of making things simpler and upselling to them. Is there any other product services that you could sell to them? Can you make it simpler? Just talk to your customers. There's also, like, if you look at it, you may find that certain parts of your business doesn't need a full-time person, but like there's a lot of businesses, like for instance, have health and safety as a outsourced, but you could look, or bookkeeping, but you could look at other things to be outsourced as well. But whatever you do, go to an expert and make sure that it's cost benefit to you. It's actually beneficial. But you can do that, especially where you don't want someone just working half their time. So you can have a look to see that actually they're actually fully efficient. You can look at inefficiencies. There's so many times I see people putting it, going on and putting information in once, twice, 3, 4 times. Why? Yeah. Talk to someone, talk to the expert to get that. So it's at maximum 2, but it should be able to, most things, 80% probably, 80-20 rule again, I'd say 80% you probably could automate. Yes. And that would give, it's just the time. That's the problem. It's making sure you've got enough time. But if you make the time, you can actually benefit going forward. Certainly I always get every LinkedIn, like I say, about look at where you're making money and not. Because people, how can you make decisions unless you know what part of your business is making money and what part is not? Yeah. Because there's so many times you have an element of the business that's holding everything else back. It's your terrorist bit, whether it's a customer, a market, it could be some certain staff on something. It could be a location, but make sure you've got it analyzed properly so you know where there's a problem. I go back on automation as much as possible. And just be aware though, which is an opportunity and risk. If there's a lot of startups in recession. Now there could be opportunities to, partner with some of these, but also there's a risk that there could be competitors. Yes. So, like I see Kim was saying, every, opportunity is a risk as well.
And people make use of the redundancy payments on some occasions to start up their own business and do exactly that.
Hello, that's what I did back in 2009. We set up Wessex, but I basically did it because I had a redundancy payment, and we set up Wessex, and our first client was our own corporate company. But it helped Wessex get going. So there's a lot of people that will think, if there's not so much now, because I think it's going to come where they'll think about it. And it depends how the staff are, if they're fed up or not, whether they're fed up with what they're doing. But there's going to be a lot in corporate. There's going to be a lot of redundancies. Yeah. Not sure so much in small business. It depends on the market you're in.
Yeah. And actually,
certain markets are doing okay, but there's quite a few that aren't. Hospitality. And possibly housing as well. The housing, so we don't know where that's going to go yet. Yeah.
And of course, if you think about it, people are not spending as long in any one job now as they used to. So redundancy payments themselves will be smaller.
Exactly, yes.
But also potentially brings good people to the market. Who, if when you're dealing with a skills shortage, there will be other people coming into the market through that route as well. But one of the big things that you mentioned earlier is cash and the importance of focusing on cash flow. Tell me what things people can do to make sure that they don't run out of money.
Well, first thing, I mean, especially if you're not a cash business, as in you don't receive cash straight away. I mean, by cash, you're not paid straight away.
Yeah.
If you give in terms, credit, you make sure, first of all, make sure your credit control is, really, really good. It's so important to make sure that you check the customers out, even a regular check on existing customers.
And even the big players that you think, oh, no problem at all.
Yeah. And just sign up. I would have a regular reports on, when they file things and what's happening. You can get, if you've got one or two major customers, you get, credit insurance.
Yeah.
And credit insurance is actually, although it's costly, it's a very good barometer because they have a much wider spread, and they know they will stop giving credit for well before a company goes bust. So that can be quite an interesting one. If not, then a credit, like something like, Equifax, sort of Experian or whatever, sign up to one of these, Credit Safe, have a look so you get regular reports on how well the company's doing. But sometimes that's out of date, whereas credit insurance is really, they have to give reports to these credit insurance providers. Spread your risk. Please try and avoid being reliant on one or two major customers, because if one gives you a problem, slows down, it's going to slow your cash. If they go bust, you've lost a hell of a lot of your turnover. Take steps to get paid on time, or up front. Automated reminders, direct debits. We use direct debits, and we spread payments, like the cost over a period, so that actually our clients know what they're going to get charged, but also we know what we're going to get paid. So it's a two-way sort of street on that. Look at, if you're on longer projects or longer orders, look at milestone payments or mechanisms. Look at mechanisms to make sure that what happens if they don't pay? What leverage have you got? If you've got a big order, spread it. Try and get so you actually can see well before. So if you're turning over a couple million, say, and you've got 500,000 order, over a few months, we'll spread it. Don't, just make sure you can try and tie the cash that you're paying, you pay out with the cash you're getting in.
Yes.
Look at, on the cost side, look at, suppliers, pay on time, not early. But if you can't pay on time, then, discuss with them payment plans. A lot of businesses are pretty good. Obviously, with taxes, you've got time to pay. But with the revenue, just make sure you talk to them if any of you ever having problems. They're much more receptive rather than finding out later because you've kept your head in the sand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing I'd say is also that it's payment holidays. You've got things like, sort of finance. You've got finance agreements, like especially bounce back loans, C-bills. Talk to them, see if you can get spread over. Bounce back loans, for instance, you can get, if you haven't taken it, you can get a 6-month repayment holiday. And then after that, you can spread it over, instead of 6 years, you can spread it over 10. So that helps your cash as well. So just remember, cash is king.
And do you think there's still a place for cost cutting?
Oh, definitely. But cut the right costs.
Yeah.
And keep it and also, like, you hear it so many times. The first thing that people would say, "Oh, I'll cut marketing."
Yeah.
Now, if it's the right marketing, but you should try and understand where the marketing is, the cost and what's your return on investment. Yeah. But if you cut marketing out, how's anybody going to ever know about you? Yeah. So it's much more important as we go through, because marketing is key for any business. So people are aware of you, that you're getting the traction and everything on Google, etc. So that people understand that you're still there, especially in recessionary times. So look at marketing, but it's definitely cutting wastage and inefficiencies. And I come back to it. Look where you're making money and not, because sometimes it's there's an area that actually your business is actually, if you think you're doing okay, a small profit, but there's probably a part of the business that's doing really well, and there's part of the business that's absolutely not doing well, and it's dragging the rest of the business down.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, look at how you can improve it or get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And who would you recommend people talk to and have these conversations with?
Well, I'd be open with everybody. Like employees, most of the time they've got ideas, so listen to them. Ideas to increase revenue, productivity, controlling costs, opportunities with customers or new customers. So talk to your employees. Obviously, talk to your accountant. You should have plans, like especially cash flows. That's key.
Yeah.
But plans, where you're going. Sort of. I don't, again, keep it simple, stupid. Don't have, I'm not advocating massive business plans, but maybe, like a plan for the next 3 months or 6 months. It could be on 1 or 2 pages. So you can see where how you're going. And if you're not sure how to do that, then talk to your accountant or business advisor, because they can help you. But I said one of the key ones is talk to your customers. Listen to what they want, what you need from them. Make it easier for them to buy.
Yes.
And that you could get more like upsell. So it's easier it is for a customer to deal with you, that then get hold of you, that they get satisfied and sorted out quickly. And it's easy, that they can buy from you quite easily. The more they will stay with you and the more customers that you can generate.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay with you and refer to you as well. And if you were suggesting a business set some goals to get them through the next few months or however long we're in a sort of difficult time, what would you recommend? What should their goals be?
Well, I think you should have is planning. You should have plans, like I said earlier, a simple, business plan, like could be a 1 page and cash flows, regular cash flows, so you can see what's happening. Cash flow, you can do it in detail for the next, month, 2 months or whatever, but you should be looking out at least 3, if not 4, 6 months. You can look longer, but it will change anyway. So it's how much time you've got to do this, but also have a plan on, projections, profits, what you turnover, what's going to happen. Whatever you do, keep it simple, stupid, KISS principle. Look at if you can be more flexible, responsive, lean, understand your numbers. I keep on saying it. What makes money, what doesn't make money. And that can be, like I said earlier, products, services, customers, markets, locations. But look at opportunities. Where are there opportunities? Brainstorm opportunities. And one thing that I probably haven't said that I really am keen on, I see so many businesses that say, that's a great idea, and they do nothing about it. Now, flexibility, responsive, lean and mean. Key is if you go with your gut, if you've got a decision and you either go with your gut or get the evidence as well.
Yeah.
If you think you're going for something, make the decision and do it.
Yeah.
Don't stall. Now, if you're not sure about something, yes, you can, but you can have plan A, plan B, plan C. But so many businesses sort of just, I'll wait, and they wait too long. Yeah. So it's better it's better to make a decision than no decision.
Yeah, and we've been in frustrating situations where people have come to us looking for help, and we've been sort of saying, actually, you might have just left it a little bit too late to have that conversation.
Yeah, it happens that sometimes we get referred when businesses have gone, they should have been, the turnover's gone down, they don't know, and they think, it's only a little bit of time or whatever, or the costs have gone up and turnover down. And then they come to us and it's like, wish you'd come to us 3 months ago.
Yes.
Might have been able to do something about this, and it's so upsetting and so sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. So what are the things that you would advise business owners to do now, Graham?
Number one, understand your numbers, review and make sure, if you don't know, find someone that can help you understand those numbers. I've mentioned it before in some previous LinkedIn lives. If you look at Dragon's Den, it's always understand your numbers.
Yeah.
The second thing is, even though it's recession, what I'm talking about is exactly the same, whether you're good times, bad times, and when you're exit planning. You've got to understand your numbers. You've got to see where you are and trying to be lean as mean as possible. So you're ready for the new and cut wastage and, automate as much as possible. The more you do this, the more valuable your business will be, irrespective of whether it's good times, bad times, whether you're selling, whether you're growing, whatever. Cut unnecessary waste. And like I said, innovate where you automate where you can. talk to customers, advisors, employees. Look at ways to cut costs, get more sales from customers, etc. See if you can get referrals for new customers. Make the changes needed, but as I said earlier, act quicker rather than later. Make fast decisions. I keep on saying about this gut instinct, and it's quite interesting that talking to people, the more I say about the gut instinct, they say, do you realize there's a chemical in your brain that actually, that's why it is. There's a brain has a chemical down here that actually, so it means that actually your gut's right half the time, or more than that, 95% of the time. But check it with evidence. Please check, don't just go with gut, but check it with evidence, because, but the gut feeling, that's where it's scientifically proved that it's more right than wrong.
It's a thing.
So basically get help, really. I say, if you need something, don't think you're on your own.
Yeah. And speaking of getting help, if you picked up on any issues today and would like to have a one-to-one conversation with Graham, drop us an email, chatwithgraham@wessexcommercial.com. Details are on the screen, and we'll set up that conversation, and that'll be an opportunity for you to talk through the issues in confidence that are affecting your business. And next month, as we approach Easter, we're asking, too many eggs in one basket. And it's something that Graham mentioned during our session today, where if you've got a business where you're overexposed with one or two key customers, we're going to look at the strategies that you can put in place to help reduce some of your risks. So look forward to seeing you then at 12:30 on Monday, the 3rd of April. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.